I was 16 years old. I was arrested for murder and rape I did not commit in Westchester County, New York, specifically city of Peekskill. I got released from jail. I got bailed out, and I turned 17 just before the trial started. And I was wrongfully convicted. I was found guilty of murder and rape, which I did not commit, even though the DNA evidence showed it wasn't me. I was given 15 to life sentence. And
15 to life sentence.
That means you have to do 15 years minimum. Okay. Then I go in front of the parole board for consideration of discretionary release. The life part of 15 to life means that there never would have come a point in time where they were obligated that they have to release me. It's always up to their discretion. They could hold me there, theoretically, the rest of my life. So I lose 7 appeals. I get turned down for parole. And ultimately, I was proven innocent 12 years ago through more DNA testing through the data bank, and it identified actual criminal. So all charges against me were dismissed on innocence grounds, and the actual criminal was arrested and convicted.
So now the actual person who was free and not caught at the time being, now is in prison?
Yes, he is. Just to share, 3.5 years after killing the victim in my case, he killed a second victim 3.5 years later.
Okay. Who
was a school teacher and mother of 2.
How long did you stay in the prison, Jeffrey?
16 years.
16 years you stayed in the prison?
Yes, so from age 17 to 32. Remember, I'm adult now. I am 45 and I've been home for 12 years, but I was 17 years old when this happened, so from 17 to 32. I can see you are emotionally involved.
But probably I'm not the first interviewer who goes through this reaction.
No, it's very, very emotional things. Yes, it's bad enough this happened at all, but then those years is the most formative years, so it was particularly difficult. I want to share quickly that I was charged as adult, so that means I given
even
adult.
Though you were 16 years
even though I was 16 years old when I was arrested for a crime, so that meant that I was tried in adult court. I was given adult sentence, and I was sent to an adult prison.
All right. Was it because the seriousness of the crime?
Because the seriousness of the crime. Yes.
If you were able to rape and murder, you should answer for your guilt as an adult, not as
yes.
youth or iron.
Yes, no, you said it exactly right. That is the legal theory. All yes, right. It is correct. True.
You spent 16 years.
I did. I did. It doesn't seem real right now because everything around me. We're in my house. I'm free. We just came from a very nice meal. But it almost feels like I'm talking about another person. But yes, I was inside the prison for 16 years. When I was there, I couldn't believe I was there. Half the time, my mind told me I wasn't really there because I couldn't believe something like this could happen, even though I was living it.
Uh-huh. You had one DNA test at the time being when you got convicted.
Yes.
And then over the time, you said that through different or further DNA tests.
Yes, correct.
You were able to prove your innocence.
Yes.
What's the difference between one DNA test and another DNA test?
Very good question. I will explain. The technology only allowed us to compare the semen on the victim to me and say it's not me. When the technology was improved, the database was created, we went from being able to say it wasn't me to being able to say not only it wasn't me, that's who it is right there.
Okay.
That is the difference.
But if they were able to tell that it's not your semen,
there was supposed to be enough.
Why did they put you in prison still?
I think they didn't want to admit that they made a mistake, and so they kept prosecuting me anyway. Okay. And they got medical examiner to commit fraud, and my lawyer was terrible. He basically didn't defend me, and the courts didn't want to correct anything.
Oh, okay. They needed someone. Responsible for the things happen.
Yes, and I think the courts were not that open to consider that I was innocent, even though I was arguing that. Because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into finding someone guilty, and to overturn conviction means you're going to undo all of that work that went into it already.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, they should correct any wrongful conviction that happens.
All right.
I want people watching this to know, if they want to learn more about wrongful conviction in general, a great resource is go to Google and then type in the search field National Registry.
To me, it's fascinating that you're out of prison, serving 16 years of your life. By the age of 32, you pretty much 50% of your life was spent in prison. And,
Yes.
And the better part of it, when you are not pampered, when you are not tied up to school, not tied up to writing homework stuff.
Yes, exactly.
And yet you came to the understanding that you want to create value.
Yes.
Yes, of course, you gotta pay the bill. You make your share, whatever. But you decided to give this selflessness.
Yes, I decided I want to give back, and I feel like I make sense of everything that happened to me by believing that my role in the world is to fight wrongful conviction and to help free people, and that's how I make sense of what happened to me. And so in that sense, I have sense of identity, I have sense of purpose. I find the work to be very meaningful. It is a website that has profiles of everybody who has been proven innocent from 1991 forward. It has the case summaries, and it has statistics, and a lot of information can be learned there.
So throughout the year, more than a decade and a half, you were sure and you know that you are innocent.
Yes.
How were you able to not to hang yourself, not to
Yes.
kill yourself? Because
Yes.
you said that I'm not supposed to be here, and it's nothing like a fun place. So it's not like, oh, the best punishment in my life. When a geek gets grounded by the parents in the room so he can play computer games for 24/7, it's a torture, I believe, especially
Yes.
knowing that you were completely innocent. So mentally, how were you able to overcome the hurdles?
Yes, and I did think about a lot at times to commit the suicide. You are correct. Other things happened in my head. I used to, I had to fight off feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, sometimes thoughts of giving up, even sometimes it was struggle just to not go crazy. So with all those, so it was a battle in my own head as well as fight in the courts against the district attorney's office. So to answer your question, the way I got through my experience the following ways. So my belief in God was one thing. Another thing was I didn't look at it like I was doing 15 to life sentence. I thought I was just doing a year or two until my appeal would be heard in court and I would win the case and go home. And so every time I lost, I would look at the next proceeding and I refocus, okay, I just have to make it through another year or two. I'm going to win the next time.
Okay. You failed 6 times.
7.
7 times.
Yes.
I got released for the 8th.
Yes. Another thing is I used to go to law library in the prison and learn the law to help fight the case. And so that gave me a sense of empowerment.
Okay.
And then also I used to collect stories about other people who were proven innocent. And so that would inspire me to keep going. Another thing is I find things to throw myself into. So I used to read a lot of nonfiction books. So I developed a little routine in the prison. So on Saturday, for example, I would listen to sports talk radio. I would engage in big delusion. When I was in recreation, I would play basketball and play chess and I played ping pong. And I used to pretend that I was professional athlete.
Okay.
And the other people were, and the people waiting for the next game, that was the audience. They would bring us sometimes to gym and sometimes another place, and one place was home game, another one was like on the road.
Yeah.
But it was much more. It wasn't really like kids playing on basketball court and fantasize about. This was more like survival mechanism. My brain could not deal with being in prison, and I needed to get out for a couple hours just in my mind, so I engaged in the delusion to try to survive. So that was part of it. Listening to sports talk radio was not listening to sports talk radio. It was really lifeline to the outside. In that context, even to get a piece of junk mail have meaning. even get a piece of junk mail have meaning. And then you tell yourself other things to try to normalize the madness. So I'm not going to my prison assignment in the morning, and in the afternoon I'm going to school or I'm going to work.
Right.
So you pretend that and then it's not the prison guards, it's the correction officers, it's not the prison warden, it's the superintendent. Mm-hmm. So these euphemisms to try to blunt what it really is all part of and then you get used to routine a little bit, and you try to pretend that it's normal to get strip search if you go to visit and you come back in. You try to you try not to think about that. You try to pretend that to make a phone call is normal, that you can only call collect, and only a certain number of phone numbers that you have been approved by the prison to call collect. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult existence.
All right. So when you get out,
yes.
Jeffrey,
yes.
then that was the moment when. So that's the moment when you are able to start setting up the case and start suing
yes.
other entities for reimbursement for the years lost in prison.
Yeah, it's called compensation. Yes.
Compensation. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry for the terms.
No, it's okay. No, I know. No, I know what you mean, and I'm just using the actual terms just to be educational. That's
Appreciate
all.
that.
Yes. So in the United States, so there's 23 states where you cannot get compensation from the state.
Okay.
But New York State is a state you can get compensation from the state, and you can also bring lawsuit in federal court. The states without the compensation, you can only bring lawsuit in federal court. And the reason why it's important is because to win in federal court, you have to show constitutional violation. It's not enough to show you. If you can show you're innocent, but you cannot also show constitutional violation, then in federal court you lose.
But isn't it already constitutional violence that they put you in a prison for crime you didn't commit?
No. No? If they can say we have reason to think that you commit the crime, some witness told us it was you. Then they have an excuse of defense.
Okay, because others convinced us.
Yes.
It's not our failure, but we believed on solid, credible people's word, and therefore the liability is not ours.
Correct. Yes, that is the theory.
Wow.
Yes. So in New York State, we have compensation statute. So I sue in state court with civil rights lawyers, and they settle with me. And I also brought federal lawsuit. So I sued Peekskill Police Department, and they settled with me. I sue Westchester County because their medical examiner commit fraud. I sue Putnam County because it was their polygraph is the person who gave me lie detector test.
Yeah.
I went to trial against him and I won. And I also sued Public Defender's Office and for not defending me properly. It's not that he lost, it's that his performance fell underneath basic standards of what he was supposed to do as professional. And they settled with me, so I won. It took me 5 years to get compensation, so very difficult life after prison. They released me with nothing. They don't help you. And I very nearly went to homeless shelter. I was never able to find job because I didn't know the technology and I had no work history. And all the employers wanted somebody who could immediately begin working very well instead of be patient and teach me. I have the stigma. You were in 16 years.
What is
stigma? So people, they think bad about me because I was in prison.
Okay.
They know I was
like
there.
Like a criminal record.
Yes. Right. I mean, they know I was innocent, but they were worried that from being in prison 16 years, I pick up habits of criminals, and maybe it could be dangerous to have me around.
What the hell?
I agree with you. It's terrible, but it was true.
That's prejudice.
Prejudice, yes. Yes, I used to go for 6 years. I used to have therapy for 4 hours a week to deal with psychological after effects of my experience and getting used to being free again. And it was difficult socially as well to try to build new social life, to develop new friends that wanted to. I still want to do things 17-year-old wanted to do, like throw a ball around, go to carnival and stuff. So I have to try to build new friendships. That was it was hard. And my background was kind of difficult, still is a little difficult in terms of find somebody to have a romantic relationship with. Yes, I see. So there were those parts of it. And then I remember I was 17 when I went inside. So I had the normal challenges of life. I never before lived on my own. I never pay bills. I never come and go as I want. I never balanced checkbook. I never have job. I never went food shopping. I have to learn to do, or I never keep a schedule. I have to learn to do all of these things myself for the first time after I was released. It was very, very hard for 5 years. It's still hard now, but I'm a little bit more used to it, and since I have some financial compensation, I know that I can pay my bills. But before it was not like that.
After you got released, you had major difficulties.
Yes.
Like reintegrating yourself.
Correct. Yes, that's the perfect way to say it. Don't change the word. Reintegrating is exactly right.
Appreciate that.
Yes,
Jeffrey.
Yes.
This is the reason why you signed up for Couchsurfing.
Yes. So yes, I signed up for Couchsurfing because I wanted to try to jumpstart my social life. It's for meeting new people, but you're not going to make friends, long-term friends that way, because by nature they're traveling, and you'll be very nice acquaintances and you pass through in life, but it's not substitute for having regular friends that you interact with on a more regular basis.
To me, it's fascinating that you're out of prison, serving 16 years of your life. By the age of 32, you pretty much 50% of your life was spent in prison. And,
yes.
And the better part of it, when you are not pampered, when you are not tied up to school, not tied up to writing homework stuff.
Yes, exactly.
And yet you came to the understanding that you want to create value.
Yes.
Yes, of course, you gotta pay the bill. You make your share, whatever. But you decided to give this selflessness.
Yes, I decided I want to give back, and I feel like I make sense of everything that happened to me by believing that my role in the world is to fight wrongful conviction and to help free people, and that's how I make sense of what happened to me. And so in that sense, I have sense of identity, I have sense of purpose. I find the work to be very meaningful. So that's one thing. Maybe second thing is try to seize the moment, seize opportunities, seize life, take advantage of opportunities. I did not think like this before it happened to me. I appreciate the small things. I appreciate ability to come and go. I love the sun on my face. I like to feel fresh air. Ability even just to turn electric on or off, which sometimes you can't do in the prison cell. Even just ability to talk to people. In prison you have to be careful. The ulterior motive from violence is a lot in there. It is not like that outside to the same extent. So I appreciate just those small things. So I guess that's a few life lessons. And maybe last thing I will say is I believe in chasing dreams. I think that you can turn the dreams into reality, and I think that it is better to do that whether you achieve success or in the end or not. I believe it is better to try that and not be successful than to be afraid to try. Because at least that way you don't wonder anymore, and you have to be willing, to use a sports metaphor, you have to be willing, in order to be the hero, you can't be afraid to take the chance to be the goat.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
You're welcome, and thank you. It was really a pleasure to meet you. I'm really happy we met.
So am I. Thank you so much.
Sure.